Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Nichel Anderson. I'm your host for my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. And today will be July the 15th, where I'm going to focus on my best episodes. I'm going to talk about, I have a total of about 7 that I'm just going to go through right quick. Then during the summer, I do keep it short, at least I try, and release. I decided this year to start releasing one episode a month instead of last summer I did 2 times a month. But I'm trying to cut back because it's some other projects I want to work on, and I like to deliver my podcast on time. And to do that, I think when the season kicks back in September, it's going to be bi-weekly, so every other week, 2 times a month, and during the summer, 1 time a month. So before I get started, let me just go ahead and say, in this day I am thankful to the prime creator of all things, that I give thanks for this blessing and opportunity, that I will use it for the greater good. So welcome my survivors during this summertime to my podcast that aims to inspire and motivate, that you will continue to have joy, peace, joyfulness, and peace of mind, and for your sustained success. So I'm just going to jump right into this. I have a total of 7 that some of the best, well, all of them are fantastic, or at least I hope that you felt the same way, but I had to kind of narrow it down and pick some. So the first one is how to effectively forgive through the prism of redemption. That was episode 65, and I wanted to focus on, when I first started the forgiveness, which I decided to do a series, okay, I focused on the perception of the person that did the hurt and wanted to figure out how to gain forgiveness, or wanted forgiveness but didn't really want to work for it. Okay, I kind of focus on that type perception, and sometimes, and also where the person that just don't understand what the whole process is, forgiveness, how they should go about it and approach it, and how the other person is considered to be the victim in it to go about. So I've been really focusing on that aspect of it, and I wanted to, this time in episode 65, look at it in the prism of how you can forgive someone when they actually do the things that needs to be done, which basically is redemption on that side. And redemption for them is the same thing as accepting, and then you have to do what's needed to be done. On the victim side, looking at it in this episode 65, is to look at it as a step forward, and to really consider, to review the evidence, to review the action, the doing of the person that initially did the hurt, and to be in position that you can forgive. Now, sometimes things are, we'll say the phrase is unforgivable, or it's too hard, and so forth. And I think what makes it extra hard is when the person do not redeem. But I wanted to focus in this episode where the person is none of that, and the person is actually have redeemed themselves. They did the work, they continue to do the work, because see, consistency is key, right? Especially if it's really, really something bad, and it allows the heart to rise above and to look at things in a more elevated way, where in my experience people cut that out and they just want you to get to the elevated way of seeing beyond, but you can't get to that because it's so much pain, and pain is like tar, and it's a process. But in this episode, I wanted to focus on that you have to at least review it, and you have to acknowledge the steps of the good that they did, and they are doing it in a consistent way. They are continuing to do it, and they made the change, and they're making the effort, and they stopped doing the things that you already communicated, or by now of course they know that it's not healthy. So take a look at that episode. It's episode 65. I did notice that that's one of a very popular episode. I'm still having people downloading it a lot. So I highly recommend that. All right, so let's go to the next one. This is episode 64, entitled Why Redemption is Hard for Most But a Necessity. So for that one, I really like that one as well. And And again, it's coming all through, I think it was the month of April, where I focus on redemption. A lot of people don't like redemption because they don't want to feel bad about themselves. And actually, that's a roadblock. It's the obstacle that they won't get to redeeming themselves to help the person that needs, that now has to look at the phase where they have to choose to forgive, decide the person is not worth it in their lives, okay, for them to have the mental peace. So I felt the focus on this topic was to show that when you don't redeem, basically decide I'm going to be in denial. You basically decide I'm going to continue to disrespect the other person, and you disrespect yourself because you are refusing to grow. And over time, in that denial, right? You are forcing your mind, and I always say that our mind operates on the logical and also metaphysical type aspect of understanding what's going on around them and what's happening. And when you refuse to accept that, it tears the mind up. I say tears the mind up. It reduces the mind capacity to do what it was created to do, to think, to resolve, to go into balance, and you will go insane. And that's why I said it's a necessity. So check out that episode 64. The next one is forgiveness is earned, not given, and that's episode 60. All of these are my forgiveness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. At any rate, where most of them are, I'm seeing a couple. I'm naming 7. So that was the third one. Forgiveness is earned, not given. And I grew up in that mindset, even up to this day I have, where people just assume you just need to forgive and you need to move on. As I have taught when I wanted to talk about forgiveness, forgiveness is like a road. It's a pathway of our journey. And forgiveness is way, way, way down the road, because the first thing we have to do is accept. And then from acceptance, the next one is come to, are you going to redeem? And you go back in that back and forth. But a lot of people, as I said in episode 64, they don't want to do any type of redemption. They just want to get to the end of that road. But the reality is, when a circumstance or a situation happens that is painful, the road can last a long time. That's like the road could start from point A and you have it in point of the road of Z, because that's a whole another on another planet. You know what I'm saying? That forgiveness, you have to put in the effort, and the effort comes from redemption. And that episode was for those, or at least to have a conversation, that we should not be willing to go ahead and forgive when we haven't healed ourselves. And that's from both sides of the road. Person that did the wrong and the person that now has to be in position of acceptance. Acceptance is so long. Gosh. Because denial is sitting right there at the table, like, go ahead, pour a glass of this denial, forget about it. And that's not the case. And then you have the one that don't want to look at and feel guilty and feel inferior or insignificant, all that negativity. They urge, try to influence you too. Just go ahead and forgive me. Why are you holding this on? Da 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 da. All right, so that's a good episode. Episode 63. The next one, episode 62. Without redemption, there is never mental peace. That goes into why redemption is hard for most, but a necessity. So in this episode 62, without redemption, there is never mental peace. Oh my gosh, that is true. Because in life, things has to be in balance. And when it's not, it's just chaotic. And you get no mental peace. And so denial is increased. But denial always want to feed off this and feed off that. And people use the word karma, and that's one way to say it. But it's also, I think, a spiritual type decline, and you deny your spiritual growth. And without spiritual growth, there is no mental peace. That's a good episode too. Let's go to episode 61. I'm just doing all these. Okay, why redemption and forgiveness works in alignment. And that goes back to episode 65, episode 64, and 63. Is because redemption is needed from those that did the wrong to be able to acknowledge why it was wrong. Ooh, that's deep. It just came through me. You got to replay what I just said. That's a message for you. Replay it at least 7 times. 7 times replay what I just said. And forgiveness is an option and an opportunity for both people, for both parties. But once redemption is in the move and is moving, forgiveness, you can see the light at the tunnel. Because if forgiveness is basically a choice, okay, the acceptance is the hard part. Forgiveness is basically a choice at the end if you want that person in your life or not. And it all relates to the balance. And when it's in an alignment of the redemption after the acceptance, right, from the person that did the wrong, then forgiveness comes along on the table, where it could be in a more calm and relaxed state of deciding. It just goes into that overall plateau of reaching balance. All right. And it goes hand in hand. You can't have forgiveness and you're not going to redeem. Okay. And if you redeem, then forgiveness is right there in your face and you got to make a choice. Let's go to episode 58. What's the message when your life is chaos? That's a very came to me because I need to do another episode on that, because it's two roles to that. The first role that I focus on, episode 58 of that, what's the message when your life is in chaos? It means that it could be a blessing, and before your blessing comes, Mr. Fear sees the blessing and want to denounce it. So it creates fear, anxiety, even can come through people, and people will say things. I don't think you should do that. I don't think you should believe in yourself. You're not going to do it, and all of this because they see your future. And then not just they, but it could be other things. This didn't work out, or that fell through, or maybe you got up and you were late. It's just things happen, and it's just chaotic, meaning you know what I'm talking about. This and that. It could be what I was focusing on that road, that it could be a message that you're about to get your big blessing. You just gotta hold on to it and don't give up. The other part that I haven't did a podcast on is where it is chaos, but it's based on the deeds that were done. So the deeds, if the seeds of the deeds were negative and bad and self-serving, then it's chaotic. Is because you're creating that same energy back to you, that same ripple effect back to you, and you have to make better choices and you have to redeem. All right, but I'm definitely going to do another episode on that aspect when it's chaotic and complete chaos. It's all based on what you're doing. The last one's episode 56, how to say no to insanity. I think that's clearly in that. You can say no to insanity so you can get your mental peace. And that episode, I really like that because I want to hold on to it, because a lot of people that's in their insanity, they want you to be insane, and so they gaslight you, tell lies, they don't admit the truth, they be in denial, and you have to say no. All right, so that concludes this short review of some of my best episodes for season 2. Go ahead and check that out. And if you like it, please share it. And I want to thank you so much for following me. I want to give a shout out to those that purchased my Corporate America book. I do see those sales on that end from my publisher, and I just want to say thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I love what I'm doing. This is part of my purpose, and it really feels good when I see people actually reaching out and purchasing my book put out there to do. And I want to thank those that are signing up for my newsletter. That will start out soon. If you haven't already received the newsletter that I do, if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, go ahead, and you can either go on my website, nichelanderson.com. There will be a pop-up to provide your email, or you can definitely do it in my description here in my podcast. Sign up with the email that you prefer. I do not spam. And to sign up to my newsletter. The app for my podcast is still being updated. That should be available, and I'm hoping by next season 3, when I return back in September, which would be bi-month. I always said that already, but bi-monthly. All right, thank you so much for supporting me, and have a great one. Happy summer.